We've all had moments that break us down, searching for light when the world spins round. But in those cracks, the purpose is born, a new way to live when the old is torn. It's more than a story, it's the rise from the fall, a place where your purpose starts to call. With Dr. Stephenson, wisdom takes flight, turning your pain into hope, into light. Collide with purpose, embrace the change. Every story's got a fire in its flame. Tune in, listen, find your way to take life's hardest hits and turn the page. In the podcast, the truth is found. Collide with purpose, let love abound. From heartbreak to strength, the lessons unfold. It's about how we rise, not the stories we've told. Guests with their journeys, sharing their light. In every collision, there's power in sight. It's more than a talk, it's the wisdom we gain through every struggle, through every pain. With conversations that open the door to purpose, to power, to so much more. Collide with purpose, embrace the change. Every story's got a fire in its flame. Tune in, listen, find your way to take life's hardest hits and turn the page. In the podcast, the truth is found. Collide with purpose, let love abound. So come as you are, with your scars and fears. This is the place where the truth appears. Turn your trials into stepping stones. Find the strength to claim your throne. Collide with purpose, embrace the change. Every story's got a fire in its flame. Tune in, listen, find your way to take life's hardest hits and turn the page. In the podcast, the truth is found. Collide with purpose, let love abound. A collision with purpose, your journey starts here. In every conversation, we'll wipe away fear. Find your purpose, let your life ignite. With Dr. Stephenson, you'll find your light.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, wherever you're joining from. I am Dr. Laxley. Welcome. Welcome to Life-Changing Conversations to Inspire Actions, a platform dedicated to sharing stories that inspire growth, awaken purpose, and challenge us to become the very best versions of ourselves. Every life tells a story. Some stories entertain us, some stories educate us, and then there are stories that transform us. Today, we have the privilege of spending the next hour with a man whose journey reflects resilience, leadership, purpose, and impact. A man who has navigated challenges, embraced opportunities, and committed himself to making a meaningful difference in the lives of others. Our guest is more than his titles, accomplishments, and professional achievements. Behind every success lies a story of sacrifice, lessons learned, defining moments, and decisions that shaped a life's direction. Today, I encourage you not simply to listen, but to reflect. As Dr. Juan Marcel Smith shares his journey, consider your own path. What experiences have shaped you? What challenges have strengthened you? And what action might you take because of what you hear today? Because the purpose of this conversation is not merely inspiration. The purpose is transformation. The purpose is action. please join me in welcoming our special guest, Dr. Juan Marcel Smith. Hey, Doc, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well, Doc. I'm so happy to be on this show with you today. I'm
Hey,
excited.
is this your first time on Life Changing Conversations?
Yes, yes. I've tuned in. Well, I've watched the playback. I watched when it was live, but this is my very first time as a guest on this platform, this
Man, I
show.
wonder why. What took you so long?
Hey, I guess this is just the right time. It's my
Yeah,
time.
yeah, it is your time. It is your time, and it's an important time because you're just coming back from a big walk in Africa.
Yes, and
Wow,
big walk it was.
man,
It was a lot of walking.
what an experience.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
I know because of the journey to Kenya, you are a different person today.
Yes. Different is an understatement. Who's become a good friend, a guy by the name of Joseph West. When asked, about the experience, I said it was life changing. He came behind me and said it was life affirming, and I would have to agree. It was definitely a life affirming experience.
And that's a good guy right there. We go back, we go way back. We played music together in my
Yes.
other season, one of my other. Season. Yeah, good man, good man.
Yes, absolutely.
And to watch him and listen to him play for the kids, the students, that was something special.
Yes, it was. Those moments watching him play, number one was just amazing. But then to see the students, not just the adults, but the kids, the youth, know the words to the songs. I don't think there was a song that they didn't sing along to. That was just inspiring.
Well, reggae music is big. It's huge everywhere in this world, right? And
Absolutely.
yeah, so good stuff there, powerful stuff. But tonight we have a we need to have a conversation, and
Hmm.
it's about transformation. It's about you. The focus tonight is not you as a host
Right,
on
right, right, right.
it's about you as my guest on life
Yes.
changing conversation to inspire actions. So let's get in, let's jump in. And Doc, when you look back on your life journey, what moment stands out as the first indication that your life would be guided by purpose?
Wow. I would say to answer that question, I think about a lot of the moments in my life, but what comes to mind is my salvation experience at the age of 19. I think was the first major indicator that my life would be guided by purpose. Until then, I was living,
Mhm.
um, wasn't necessarily living with, I would say, direction. But when I encountered Christ, I began to realize that my life wasn't random. And what comes to mind around that time of 19, I remember attending a life crusade, a youth crusade in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. And I was a part of a ministry at that time. I had started a full time ministry at that time. And my pastor was very big on same conversation, purpose, and leadership development.
Mhm.
And so at the time, we were in Myrtle Beach, and we have a massive group of youth and young adults with us, and a lot of them were from an impoverished area in South Georgia. And so long short of it, I remember, of course, we prayed, we had our worship services, and then him and his team would lead and develop the leaders,
Mhm.
and then quite a few of us will work with the youth. Well, he comes to me and says, Juan, son, you are responsible for all the young males this weekend. And I remember freezing up like, what? Like, I don't have anything prepared. I didn't have anything polished, no presentation, no grand strategy, any of that. And so I remember after our first general session, we went to our breakout session, and this was my time. And I remember going there with my Bible, and it was a room, Doc, full of young men from the ages of 8 all the way to 18, 19, who were unchurched, from the streets, from the quote unquote hood, all these things. And I remember being in there so afraid and just frozen and paralyzed. And I'm thinking in my head, of course, what scripture, what message, what story in the Bible? And I heard this clearly: put the Bible down and talk, have a conversation. And I was like, what? This is a Christian youth crusade. Long short of it, I put my Bible down, and I remember asking them this question, and I now use it whenever I'm with youth clients, mentees, and whomever. I said, let's talk about your story and how it began. And I shared mine, and I allowed them to share theirs. Doc, you will never believe there were so many young men in there who just started breaking down crying. They were talking about sharing stories about molestation, about rejection, about abandonment, about fear, about drugs, all these different things in their communities. So long short of, when we got back to our general sessions, and my pastor was like, he was listening to all the different sessions with the different leaders. When he said my name in my session, it was an uproar. And I was so taken aback. This is my first time. I'm 19, 20. And they were like, Pastor Juan, da 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 da. And I remember him looking at me, and he winked his eye, and he mouthed to me, I told you so. It's in you. Wow. And I knew then from that moment on that this is what I was called to do.
I told you so. Put the Bible down is what you did. That voice. And talk about baptism by fire, right?
Yeah.
Just hit
Yeah.
you just like that. You have achieved much. Titles, degrees. But for those meeting you for the first time today, how would you describe the person behind those titles and accomplishments?
I would describe him. I think at my core, I'm a son of God. I'm a father, a servant, a builder of people, if I could say that. The titles of things I've done, of course, and who I am is someone who genuinely, I want to see people come to understand their value, discover their purpose, and become who God created them to be. I like to say it like this, Doc. I help connect the dots. I help connect the dots. It is my passion to help people discover who they are. I want to be play an intricate part somewhere in their journey, along their journey, that helps them figure out their God-given purpose and who they are.
Bridge builder, huh?
Yeah, I'm a builder of people. I'm a bridge builder. Yes.
Awesome. Dr. Juan, every remarkable journey begins somewhere. And before leadership, influence, and impact, there are foundational experiences that shape character and perspective. Now, let us travel back to the beginning and explore the people, experiences, and values that help build the foundation of your life. Tell us a little bit about your childhood. What experiences most shape the person you are today?
Well, my childhood, that's a Ooh. I'll open it by saying this. For those that don't know, I am currently finishing up the manuscript for my memoirs titled Unfathered. And the reason I'm sharing this is because I touch a lot on my childhood, and having to go back to that place sometimes can be emotional, not tonight, but I just want to say that is a place where I find myself frequently in these past couple of years writing this book. But however, so yeah, my parents were 19 when I was conceived. They were in college. a good thing that I do point out in my book is that something that I never want to overlook is that my parents were very young and in college, but the thing is they finished.
Mm.
My parents graduated college. My dad actually graduated early, eventually went on to get his master's, and he moved to Atlanta to try out for the Braves. He was an All-American athlete in his childhood, adolescence, and college years, quarterback football. So he was really good. His knees, of course, he suffered some injuries with his knees, so he did his stint with the Braves didn't last long. But like me, as I got older, my dad struggled with being away from his child and his partner, and he kept thinking, I don't want to be anything like my father.
Mm.
So he came back to Oklahoma, married my mom, and at that time they were what, 22, 21, 22, and moved us to Atlanta. And so we were here as a young family. Of course, you can imagine 22-year-olds with a young child 14 hours away from home, a place where they knew. They worked a lot. So I was a latchkey kid at the age of 5 at kindergarten. So I'm having to learn responsibility at a very, very, very young age to look after myself, to let myself into the house, to watch out for dangers, strangers, just all of that stuff. At the time, I learned once I got older that we moved here during the time of those Atlanta murders. There were a lot of young boys, black boys, who were being kidnapped and killed, you know. So my parents were very, very, very adamant, and they drilled in me, pay attention to your surroundings. You know, so all of these principles and things they would teach me. So, of course, later on, you know, through the childhood, they were. I don't want to define it by the challenges. I had to grow up. My siblings then came, and then just being the oldest, eventually of 8. I had to learn responsibility, and looking out for others, and making decisions for others at a very young age. But I would say as a child, I had a huge imagination. I love cartoons, movies, science fiction, comedies. I learned how to escape life challenges or just disparities and just different things through my imagination. I love the arts. I love musicals. I love playing sports, writing. I was always fascinated by the possibilities.
Mhm.
And so I think that curiosity showed up and became one of my best friends is curiosity. And
Mhm.
even to this day, I still think it shows up in who I am today as a leader, speaker, coach, educator, and entrepreneur, because I've always been interested in what could be and not just what was.
Mhm.
So I was never settled. And even as a kid, I would get in trouble or fussed at a lot. I always would ask why.
Mhm.
Why is it that? Why is it this? Why can't it be this? Why can't I do that? You know, and so I'm still like that to this day.
Yeah.
So if one door closes, guess what? I just trust that another one's gonna open, and that it was time for that door to close. So a lot of my childhood, I spent a lot of time alone. Even with siblings, you know, I've always felt like I didn't fit in. Always looking for acceptance. And I think that ended up coming into me performing
Mhm.
much of my life to be seen, to be accepted. Again, my parents worked a lot, so there wasn't a lot of, they did what was necessary. We ate, we had a bed, you know, of course they parented, but emotionally presence that wasn't there. They did what they could, especially again, they were young. And so a lot of that I carried as I got older. So my imagination really was a place where I often went to.
Mhm.
So, you know, it became a creative, you know, I learned, I would say what it did teach me is though, as I got older, I knew what loneliness and feelings of abandonment and not belonging and feeling unwanted and unseen felt like. I developed this desire to never leave anyone feeling that way. And so when I would notice that with others, I would go out of my way to make them laugh. I love comedy, and I became, you know, people say this, that, how did you just be so funny? I think I've learned that comedians, not that I'm a comedian, but professionals, they learn how to laugh at their pain. And that's
Mhm.
exactly what I learned to do, is to tell a story, to get to know people, you know, to help them feel seen. So that was
Mhm.
my childhood.
And by laughing at your pain, you make it easier for others to do the same. Huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And how important is that? You know, we talk about experiences and you've had them. And with those type of experiences, you must have had some individuals in your life who had, serious influence on you. So can you
Yeah.
share who some of those individuals are early in your life and why were they so important?
You know what? I will start with uh, my mother, of course, is at the top of that list. Her strength, her faith, perseverance, and sacrifices, they shaped me tremendously. You know, she carried a lot on her shoulders, and somehow she kept moving forward. When she became a single mother, I think I was 10, and watching her navigate life and life's challenges while remaining committed to her family, that taught me resilience and faith and determination. Even today, I believe that many of my values I hold are rooted in lessons I learned from her example. Just watching her, but I would also add my father to that list. I've grown older. I've come to appreciate many things about him. And really having to go to that place to see him as the man, and not just the absent father at some point in my life. I really look up to my dad for several reasons. His sense of style has always stood out to me. He carries himself with confidence and presence. My dad shows up and he will work a room. You know, his sense of humor is legendary in our family. Next to my grandfather, which is his dad, who we call Papa. He's one of the funniest men I know. My dad's wit, his quick thinking, his ability to make people laugh, always impressed me. Beyond that, though, I've always admired his work ethic. My dad is one of the hardest working people I know. I've never seen him take a break. If it was on one job, it's the next. If he's helping somebody build something, he's doing the construction in a building and a remodeling in his own home. He's doing it at his kids' homes. He's doing it at a neighbor's house. He's building a landscape in the backyard. He's cutting somebody's grass. Like, his work ethic is truly impressive. So my father's the kind of man who will put his head down and work without complaining. So he taught me both directly and indirectly the value of showing up, being responsible, and doing what needs to be done. So my parents are at the top of that list. And of course, throughout the years, beyond my parents, I've had mentors and spiritual leaders, family members, coaches, and friends who have shown helped me to see the potential in life that sometimes I would have missed had they not pointed it out and just walk with me along the way.
You know, I have not had the privilege of meeting your dad, but I know your mom's, and I watch her on social media and how she rejoices, and you've made her a very happy mother, just based on who you are and who you're becoming. You know, if someone is proud of you, she certainly is.
Yeah,
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 and she,
yeah.
and she shows it. She's not afraid to shout it
No,
out.
she's not. No,
Rightfully so, rightfully so. You know, let's talk a little bit about values, right? What were some of the values that were instilled in you early that still guide your decisions today?
I would say at the top of it is faith. Faith, integrity, service, perseverance, and treating people with dignity. I've learned that your character will often take you further than your talent. My parents are two hardworking people. My family, not just my parents, but the people that helped raise me and then I watched worked hard. And so they are average people, ordinary people who did extraordinary things in just lives and the lives of their children and families. And they taught me that everyone has value. And
Mm,
when you show up, contribute, add value to the organization, add value to that person's life, add value. I learned from my parents that to treat people with dignity, of course, that everybody is valuable. So to this day, I treat the way I would treat President Obama is the way I would treat the janitor, that the lead custodian at my school. I will pull out a seat for him. If he drops something, I catch his attention and bring it to him. Whatever he needs, the way that the president gets treated is the same way I would hold the custodian to the same esteem. That's just how I was raised. I saw my parents, and I just heard them say it. I watched them do it. I watched them do it. So those are the values that were instilled early on.
You know, of the many lessons you learned early in your life, is there one particular lesson that you believe prepared you for your future responsibilities?
Yes, learning how to keep moving when circumstances aren't ideal. My mom would always say, when things are just, she always had a saying, used to irritate me as a kid, but as I got older, matured, I understood. But she would always say simply, she was like, well, you got lemons? Then you need to make some lemonade. And I'm like, what? And I thought it was crazy until I realized that lemons alone are bitter and sour. But when you put it through the process and you put in the work, you can make something sweet and refreshing and will quench the thirst out of it. So that's how I learned that. That's what she was saying. I said, you got lemons. And she would also say that, you got to play the hand you're dealt. And I realized, because my family's really big on card games, that when you can't determine what cards you receive. You have to learn how to strategize. You have to learn how to play the hand that you have. And sometimes you don't have, it doesn't seem like you have the best hand, but you got to learn how to play the game, because there, at some point, if you wait for the right moment, that card that you thought was insignificant, you could play it and win the game. So you got to know how to play the hand that you're dealt. So those are two lessons that I use. You just got to learn how to keep moving when circumstances aren't ideal.
Powerful lessons indeed, and another way to put it, to say it, is you got to grow where you're planted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, Dr. Juan, thank you for sharing those foundational experiences. But, as we know, growth rarely occurs in comfort. Some of life's greatest lessons emerge through adversity, setbacks, and moments that test our resolve. Let us explore some of those defining moments. Dr. Juan, every meaningful journey includes some obstacles. What was one of the most difficult seasons of your life, and what did it teach you?
Well, these are some questions. You digging, Doc? One of the most difficult seasons of my life, that season in particular taught me a lesson that I believe many people discover eventually, that success does not automatically heal wounds. The work we do, like you said, titles, accolades, positions, all that notoriety, all that stuff doesn't necessarily heal the wounds. And so for many years, I realized I was achieving things professionally. I was growing as a leader, serving in ministry, building influence, helping others, earning opportunities. But what I realized is that even though I looked successful internally, there were still areas where my identity and healing and self-worth needed much attention. And if I can be completely honest, that season that really exposed me and where I was when I found out that my then partner was pregnant with my daughter. Of course, it wasn't ideal. It certainly wasn't planned at the time. I had just planted a church in a new city. I'm my pastor's right hand. I'm an emerging leader in ministry, becoming increasingly influential in both the educational and community space. And I had spent years building credibility and trust and relationships just in this city, in this town. And then suddenly it just felt like everything just shifted. I lost endorsements, I lost positions, I lost access to rooms I once occupied. Some opportunities disappeared. So did some friendships. They faded. And some relationships I thought were solid proved to be conditional. And then the very people that I believed would walk with me through life's most challenging occurrences and instances became the very people that talked about me. They distanced themselves from me and they turned their backs on me. And so I learned that those abandonment issues and all that start coming back. And then once again, except this was a different stage of life, I found myself lost and alone. And I remember carrying that weight of disappointment and embarrassment and fear and uncertainty. But I realized what was happening around me wasn't the real issue. It was what was happening on the inside. He had to got that situation in that season had to reveal to me that I was still really concerned with public opinion. I still wanted to be seen. I still wanted to be accepted. And my identity had become entangled with people's approval and titles and positions, influence and acceptance. And when those things began to disappear, I was forced to confront a difficult question, Doc. Who are you when the applause stops?
Wow.
When people walk away? When people make you feel like you are your mistakes? You know, so that was a difficult season for me.
A difficult season indeed, but yet, what a blessing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Look what came from it. Look who came from that season. And that is a real story right there, right?
Yeah.
That is a real story. Powerful stuff. Powerful stuff. Now, was there ever a time when you questioned your path or your ability to continue? And if so, how did you move forward?
Yes. And what kept me moving forward in that time was remembering that purpose doesn't disappear because progress feels slow. And I mean, I've had a couple of times when I felt stuck. But and I always have a story or some quote from a philosopher, something that I share that honestly helps me get through. And what came to mind oftentimes in those difficult times was, for those who know the story of Elijah, the prophet, this one in particular, he runs to a cave, right? So he's obedient to what the Lord told him to do. He acts, he calls down fire, he actually kills the prophets of God's enemy, right? And Jezebel tells him that she's going to have him killed. She's coming after him. And then he feels that he moves in such a way that he knows for sure that it's on behalf of God, yet he feels alone and unsupported. So he runs to a cave to hide. God comes to him and says, Elijah, what are you doing here? He didn't say, I know what's going on, son. I feel bad. He said, what are you doing here? Elijah begins to tell him what he's experiencing. I'm lonely. I'm afraid. No one has my back. I don't feel supported. All the other prophets are dead. She's going to kill him, blah, 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 blah. The Lord says this. He says, get up, cleanse yourself, and get your vial of oil, because you still need to go anoint the next king. And then he says, and you got to go anoint the next prophet that's going to succeed you. This man is in torment. He's in anguish. He's afraid and almost depressed. And the Lord is saying, you still got an assignment. You still got a job to do.
Yes, I love it.
But the Lord does tell him that I'm going to feed you, because this journey alone you're not strong enough for. So the Lord does care for him, right? So that was always kept me moving forward, because I realized that I can't do this alone, right? So I have to lean on something stronger and bigger, on the Lord, and the resources and people and support he's provided, and then trust that he already is aware of what's going on, that I don't have to hide, right? And so that's the thing that that has helped me push through those times where I question my path and my ability.
Wow. And we know there's such a thing as failure and disappointments, right? And setbacks. But they all, in one way or the other, contribute to our growth. So how would you explain how failure, disappointment, and setbacks contributed to who you are today?
I would say failure humbled me. I I had to realize I had spent so much of my life performing, as I stated before, to be seen, to be accepted, and I didn't allow room for error. I didn't give myself grace.
Mm,
It was almost a striving to be perfect, the perfect son, the perfect brother, the one who knows it all, and he's the most responsible and the most dependable, all of these things. And setbacks taught me patience. Like both setbacks and failures helped me develop wisdom that success alone could never provide.
mm,
Like I had to be humbled to understand that I'm really not in control of this. And that failure isn't a bad thing. You have to sometimes fail to understand what it truly takes to succeed. That didn't work, but it's not over. Try it again, or try something else. And so it helped me to discover who I truly was on the inside, my true ability, and had me helped me push me to tap into my true potential, the
mm,
failures and the setbacks.
mm. And you said it right, because failure is feedback, right?
Hmm.
It's definitely feedback. All right, so let's talk a little bit about mindset, and specifically, what mindset helped you preserve or persevere when circumstances were not in your favor, and you've had some of those.
I think the belief that what I'm experiencing is preparation and not punishment
Mm,
is the mindset that helped me persevere. I've learned to ask, what is this season teaching me, rather than why is this happening to me?
mm.
And so that is the mindset that helped and helps me persevere, is understanding that this is preparation.
And what a great, great approach, right? What am I to learn from this?
Yeah.
That's powerful stuff. Looking back now, is there a challenge you are grateful for because of who it helped you become?
Mm, yes. Growing up, I would say that would be me growing up without consistent fatherly affirmation.
Mm,
And, I'm big on affirmation. And I would say it was painful, but it drove me to really seek identity in God rather than people. Like I had to, instead of pursuing or chasing people or chasing him, I turned the pursuit to God, and I found my identity. So it also made me more intentional,
mhm,
excuse me, a more intentional father, mentor, leader in person. So I had to be intentional about discovering who I am and where I was going. So just having that that uh that journey with my dad led me to find my identity in Christ.
mm. Dr. Juan, the experiences you shared remind us that challenges often become the very things that prepare us for our greatest impact. As your journey continued, your purpose became clearer, your leadership expanded, and your influence began touching the lives of others. Now, let us explore purpose, leadership, and impact. How did you discover your purpose, and has your understanding of that purpose evolved over time?
Yes. I would say I discovered my purpose through connections. Um, I don't want to sound redundant. I talked about my struggles with loneliness since childhood and feelings of rejection and abandonment. So, that desire in me was kind of like born, from those experiences, right? And so when I would meet people through discernment or observation, I wanted to help them. I wanted to be not their main source. I didn't want to be their source at all, but I wanted to be, again, part of the or play the role, right, of helping them to find who they were. Like I wanted them to know and whatever I could do to help them feel wanted and seen, that they matter, that they're enough, that they're adequate. And so my actions, like I said, jokes, storytelling, making connections, I would learn their story, just talk to them, and they asking certain questions that would cause them to feel like, wow, he really is engaged, like it, that I'm special enough for him to stop and have this conversation with me. And then as it over time, the more I did that, it became clearer. I learned that just from those connections, that my purpose is based on three core values: is educating, equipping, and empowering others.
Mm.
And everything I do, that's what I'm doing. It's to educate, to equip, and to empower.
Wow. Wow. You know, you you hold different leadership positions, you have titles, you're a doctor, you have all these wonderful things. But what does leadership mean to you beyond holding a position or title?
I believe leadership is influence.
Mm.
Um, I think leadership is using your influence to make people, places, and systems better than you found them.
Mm.
So that's what leadership means to me.
Mm.
It's influence.
Mm. Mm. Wow. All right. So, in your experience, what separates people who dream from those who take action? What is that the thing that separates people?
Mm. Action requires courage. I would
Mm.
say that I've learned that. I am learning that. I realize that many people have vision, but not everyone is willing to move forward
Mm.
before they feel completely ready. I've been in that stuck place before, but I believe that what separates the dreamers from the doers is the ability, or the tenacity to
Mhm.
take a risk, even if they fail. I
Courage, the
think it
way.
takes the courage and tenacity. I always say this, that you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take.
Mm. 100%
Yeah.
shots you don't take. That's powerful stuff right there. All right, so you're a servant leader and you serve very well, and you've been serving for a long, long time. In fact, you just traveled and one way 18 and a half hours flight to Kenya, and you had to you I don't know how many miles you covered while you were there, in a slow moving vehicle, and many hours covered, right? So service is something that you do. Now tell me, what role has service played in your life's journey?
I think service has been central to everything that I've done, whether in ministry, education, coaching, community engagement. Service has been the vehicle through which my purpose has been expressed. So
Mm.
it plays an intricate part in my journey.
Mm.
Service. I'm a servant leader. It's who I am. It's what I do. It's why I'm here. It's to serve.
It's to serve, and serve, you serve well indeed. All right. So when you think about impact, and you're a man about impact, right? How do
Mhm.
you measure a life well lived?
I think you said it. I measure a life well lived by the lives you've impacted. I don't think it's measured by what's accumulated, but who is better because of who you are, because of what you did. I think leaving them, going back to the saying, leaving them better than you found them. I think that's how you measure life well lived. It's how things and people and systems are left after you're gone.
What kind of impact did you witness while in Kenya the past 16 days?
Oh my gosh. And of course, I still have people asking me, like, I have to put together a presentation and slides because people want to know. They keep saying, I want to hear your story about your experience. It was so just awe inspiring. I would tell you one story in particular for the sake of time. And I got emotional. I told Dr. Donna, I broke down in tears when we were at, I believe it was at St. Paul. It was a school, and the head teacher, the principal, was talking, and she was talking about that the school that she's over. It used to be one of the schools that no one wanted to attend. And it was a shame that people to find out that your kid went to that school. And then since they received the water tanks and the new washroom and the donations and the resources and all of these things, that now they've gained a competitive advantage amongst the other schools. And when she said this is when it hit me. She said the students' performance has increased significantly.
Yeah.
And that man, that touched my heart.
And yet she also said that when the Collision with Purpose movement donated those shoes,
Yes.
that was huge because that was direct impact on the health
Yes.
of the
Yeah.
kids. So that's a powerful one. That's a powerful one because after we donated the water tank and the bathroom, then other institutions and organizations
Yes.
started to give and work on the water situation. So yeah, that's a big one right there. And the personal, how did it affect you personally is another thing.
Man, I felt that, I said earlier, life affirming. I felt affirmed. I do a lot of work. I sit in a lot of meetings on a lot of boards, just doing good work. And it's not that I don't see the work being done, but to be there in that moment, it affirmed that everything that I've committed my life to doing for over decades, 2-3 decades, that it hasn't been in vain.
Mm.
That what I've set out to do since I was a younger man, to empower, right? And to leave things better, like to see that directly and to see that in real time made me feel like that I'm doing something worthwhile. I'm doing something right, that this is a community that is across seas. It is almost a day away. But I felt accomplished. I felt good because I could see it firsthand. And just seeing the smiles and the appreciation and the love and the joy that made me feel good. I'm trying to find the words. That's just how it's indescribable. You hear me? I'm almost speechless because I'm trying to find the words. But that's what it felt like. That's how I felt in that moment. That I'm doing something right. I'm building something that matters.
Building something that matters. What about you had the opportunity to speak on a Sunday at a church and you delivered a powerful message? How do you feel while delivering the message and after?
Well, first of all, I felt honored to be invited and asked, to be given that opportunity. And then when I learned where it would be broadcast, I felt distinguished, and set apart. I felt, and to be honest, I felt confident. Like I knew in that moment that this is where I was supposed to be. I belonged on that platform. I belonged in that place with those people. I knew that in that moment, that's where I was supposed to be, delivering that message. So I felt like I belonged there. I was right on time and in the right place at the right time.
And the message was on time, no doubt. All right, so there are many individuals out there who are capable, more than capable. What responsibility do successful individuals have to the next generation?
To teach. I think that's the responsibility, is to teach. One of my favorite quotes is from Dr. Maya Angelou, and she said, "When you get, give. When you learn, teach." And so I believe that we should leave wisdom, opportunities, access, mentorship, and examples worth following. So I think what we've gained, we should then turn and give. What we've learned, we should then turn and teach, what, and help them figure out what success looks like.
Mm. Mm. You know, many of us growing up, we did not have the benefit of that type of teaching, right? And mentoring. But that's another reason why we're compelled and we must do our part. Well, Dr. One, your journey reminds us that purpose becomes meaningful when it inspires action. Many people listening today have dreams, goals, and aspirations, but may feel uncertain about how to move forward. So, this next section of our conversation is designed to help them take the next step. You know, many people are waiting for the right time to pursue their goals. What do you have to say to them?
I would say to them, speaking from experience, that the right time rarely arrives. Start where you are with what you have, and trust that clarity often comes through movement. Sometimes you find out as you go. But I also want to say this: to bet on yourself. You already are what you are afraid to step out and become.
Say it again.
You already are what you are afraid to step out and become. You're
Bet.
already there. Yeah, just be.
Wow. Wow. All right. And you said something earlier about 100% of the shots that you didn't take, right?
Yeah.
Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, it's simply put, when you decide for whatever reason, a lot of times it is fear. Fear can be paralyzing. But if you decide to not take that chance, if you decide to not take that opportunity to create, start the business, to write the book, to do whatever it is that you've been wanting to do, you miss it. And here's the thing: you never realize what your true potential is and what your ability is when you don't take the chance, when you don't bet on yourself and just move. Clarity comes with movement. So like I said, the saying is, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. For those, it's a basketball reference. So if I'm on a basketball court and I never shoot the ball, guess what? I lose.
And you'll never score a goal.
I never scored. Yeah. And I don't know if I could or not, because I never took the shot.
All right. So let's talk about your beliefs. And what is one belief that has had the greatest influence on your success and growth?
That what I have, others are in need of and others want. And what I mean by want is not jealousy. I mean want as in, I want what you provide, I'm in need of. I'm seeking after your gift, after your talent, your ability, your writing, your knowledge, your wisdom. So I that is a belief that has influenced my success.
Now, I want you to look outward. Just look out there. If someone who's listening today feels stuck, discouraged, or uncertain about their future, what advice would you offer them?
I would ask, where do you desire to be? And then what are the steps to get there? Because everything starts with a plan and a step. Momentum often begins with one small act of obedience. So there is a real connection between prayer and progress. So seek wisdom and don't be afraid to ask for help or guidance. I think that's the biggest thing that I could share and really advise is, don't be afraid to ask for help or guidance. Sometimes we don't know, and it's
Mm.
okay to say I don't know.
Hmm. It is okay not to know. It is not okay not to seek knowledge
Yes,
and to
yes,
learn. Right.
yes.
Yeah. So, all right. So, what practical action can people take this moment, this week, to move closer to their purpose?
I think this week, what you can do, spend time identifying who you believe you are and who you want to become.
Mhm.
And I think after that, choose one action that aligns with that vision and commit to it daily.
Mm.
Like the Bible says in Habakkuk 2, write the vision and make it plain. So take the time to identify
Mm.
because it's there. Purpose is there. Identity is there. It's waiting on you. You're not waiting on it.
Mm. Dr. Juan, let us focus on one specific habit of yours that you believe has made the greatest difference in your personal and professional life.
I would say consistent self-reflection.
Mm.
Um, Taking time to evaluate, learn, pray, and adjust has helped me grow personally, spiritually, and professionally. Is that self-reflection?
Mm. Reflection. We have to ask ourselves questions, right? We have to process what happened. We must do that, don't we? I think too often we we depart the conversation we just had or the actions we just partake in without even looking back and move to the next.
Yes,
And how
absolutely.
dangerous is that?
Yeah.
Yeah. We're not giving ourselves the opportunity to grow and to,
No.
and to become better. Yeah, so you're so correct in saying that. Now, before we conclude, let us capture a few final insights about a quick round of what we call rapid fire questions. And I know on Bridging Generations, you ask these questions, right? So I want you to answer with the first thought that comes to mind.
Okay.
One word that describes your journey,
Transformation.
a book that changed your life.
The Bible.
That's a good one. That must have been an easy one for you, right? A
I've read a
mentor,
lot of books.
yeah, but that's the one that stands out, right? Uh, A mentor who influenced you,
My mother.
a lesson you wish you had learned earlier.
Mm. You don't need permission to become who God created you to be.
Oh, you don't need permission. One piece of advice for young leaders.
Ooh, character matters.
What does success mean to Dr. One?
Success to me means being fully who God created me to be while helping others do the same.
Mm, mm. So, do you have any announcements you'd like to make? Any new venture, new move you're making, big or small? Anything you want to announce today?
There's a couple of things. I've already mentioned the book that's underway. A couple of projects I'm working on. I don't know if it's too soon to mention about a Collision with Purpose Ministries.
Never too soon. You
Man,
said
that is
you said it earlier. Don't delay. Put it out there.
yeah, yeah. It's that's a major project, not even a project, a movement, and ministry that is underway, being developed. I'm excited about that. I'm excited about it.
And after that lesson and that you delivered at the church, Friends Quaker Church. Is that what it was called? Something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, French church. Yeah.
Yeah, after that message, man, I'm excited. I'm excited. I'm excited for the possibilities. Lives will be transformed. It's going to be powerful, and I see you have no idea where this is going to take you and where you're going to take it. It's going to be huge.
I received it.
It's going to be huge.
Thank you, Doug.
It's going to be huge. All right, final thoughts. Anything else you'd like to add before we go?
No, no, I would say this. I love sitting in this seat. Y'all don't see it, but I'm sweating because these questions were intense and I had to dig. But no, opportunities like this I look forward to, and I want to say this again. Stop waiting for permission to be.
Mhm.
I'm not preaching at you. I'm talking with you. We're having this conversation together because that is a lesson that I am working and walking out currently. Stop waiting for permission to be.
Yeah, I think you should. I reached out to you about 2 hours ago, said I would like to have a conversation with you, and this is the conversation, right? Talking about action.
Yeah.
Maybe 2 hours ago, I reached out to you and
Mhm.
said, I need to have a
Mhm.
conversation with you. A 1 hour conversation. We're actually 1 hour, 1 minute, which is awesome. We captured what we wanted to capture. And I should also add that we need to focus on Voices of Men, that
Yes.
organization. We need to
Yep.
build it because that is something we need to really dig into and build out. That is critical, it's necessary, essential, and it's a must. So we need to focus on that as well as the ministry that you'll be leading at the Collision with Purpose movement. Those are two big, 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 but necessary, critical, essential, deep.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So you've got a lot on your plate, sir. You've got a lot on your plate.
I do. I
Yeah.
do. I
I
do.
envy you 1 minute. But you're up to the task. You're more than capable, and you will deliver as no one else can. All right. So, Dr. Juan, throughout our conversation, you have shared wisdom, and wisdom that didn't just come your way. Wisdom gained through experience, through adversity, through your leadership, through service, and of course, purpose. As we close, I would like to leave this with our audience. Two final reflections, right?
Hmm.
Your story, if your life story could leave one message for future generations, what would that message be?
Mm. You already possess more potential than you realize. Don't allow your circumstances, your past, or the opinions of others to define your future.
Mm,
Discover who God says you are and dare to become that person. Take the courage, the tenacity to become that person and give yourself some grace. You will make mistakes, but don't let them define your identity. It becomes a lesson when you learn from it.
mm. All right. When people leave this conversation today, what action do you hope they take as a result of hearing your story?
Mm. I hope they stop waiting for permission.
Mm,
I hope they take ownership of their lives, embrace their purpose, and take one intentional step toward becoming the person they were created to be. Because the world doesn't need another version of someone else, it needs the authentic version of who they were designed to be. And then one statement I would leave and weave throughout every conversation that I would have, even after, is that I spent much of my life fighting to become someone, only to discover that through God, I already was who I was fighting to become. So the journey wasn't about becoming a different person. It was about becoming a person He always intended for me to be.
wow.
So dare figure out who that is and dare to become that person.
Wow. Powerful. All right, what a way to end it. All right, so, and let me say, quite an extraordinary conversation. Tonight, we were reminded that purpose is not discovered in a single moment, it is revealed through a lifetime of choices. We learned that challenges can become classrooms, setbacks can become stepping stones, and that true leadership is measured not by position but by influence and service. Most importantly, we were reminded that every one of us has the capacity to make an impact. The question is not whether we have purpose, the question is whether we will act on it. Dr. Juan, I want to thank you for joining me today in such an impactful conversation. I really appreciate you, sir, and for the work that you've done and the work that you will do in the future. On behalf of everyone joining us today, let us say thank you to Dr. Juan for sharing his story, his wisdom, and his heart. And to our audience, thank you for being part of another edition of life-changing conversations to inspire actions. May today's conversation inspire you to think deeper, dream bigger, lead stronger, and take the next step toward the life you were created to live. And remember, a life change begins with a changed perspective, but transformation begins with action. Good night, God bless, and we'll see you next time on life-changing conversations to inspire actions. Blessings always.
We've all had moments that break us down, searching for light when the world spins round. But in those cracks, the purpose is born, a new way to live when the old is torn. It's more than a story, it's the rise from the fall, a place where